So hit it.
Hello and welcome to This is the Place Sports, the podcast. It's a college basketball themed edition this week. You know, we're in March. March Madness is very much in the air. Could you introduce our guest for us?
Yeah, we are pleased to have from Estonia, Parker Van Dyke, former Runnin Utes great. And I might add a guy who knows how to beat the UCLA Bruins single-handedly almost. And Jake Hatch, who is the host of the podcast Locked On Utes and Locked On Cougars, and well-versed. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here. Thanks for having us.
Hey, how's everybody's brackets doing, first of all?
Well, Ohio State pretty much creamed mine, so I've already crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash.
Excellent.
Parker?
Yeah, Ohio State and Texas. Ohio State and Texas hurt me pretty bad, but I think the good thing is it hurt a lot of people bad. So I'm hanging in there and still with a couple of them, but I'm enjoying it.
Neither one of you picked Abilene, huh?
Nope.
You know, I think I saw something on Instagram, like some guy put like a crazy amount of money on Texas to win the whole thing. It's just like, can you imagine just what was going through his mind while Abilene was making those free throws?
May as well just lifted up the seat and flushed her down.
Like it was like a real like a way too large amount of money. So I just was thinking about that guy while that game was going on.
Well, guys, we promised a college basketball kind of edition theme this week. Let's start off with the first quarter. Quick visit for the Beehive State. BYU and Utah State both ousted the first weekend. Jake, you cover both teams. What happened? Well, you covered the Aggies a little bit, but not like the Utes, but obviously you're well-versed in both.
I just felt like both teams, they ran into other teams that just made runs on them and they were not able to respond. You saw BYU last night in particular, just UCLA raced out to a double-digit lead and they just kept BYU at an arm's length. I felt like Texas Tech, when they made a run on Utah State, it was over after that point. I think the Aggies kept it close for most of the game, but then once they went on that run, it was like, okay, they're going to have to do something to get something back, and neither team really had much to respond with.
Parker, what'd you see in the middle of the night watching these guys?
Yeah, BYU played at 3:30 a.m. here, so I just had to catch the highlights. But from what it looked like, BYU was even pretty much the whole game, other than the first half during the first part of the run there. But it came down to me. UCLA shot the ball pretty well. They shot 42% from three, and BYU only 17%. Usually BYU shoots it better from outside, and that came down to be the difference. I thought Utah State was a little outmatched. I thought Texas Tech did a really good job on Keita down low inside, but Texas Tech, I think overall physicality and athleticism kind of got to the Aggies late. But I had them both winning in my bracket, so it hurt me to see them lose. But two overall great seasons, and we'll see how they do moving forward.
Austin, when we were watching the games and such, both teams, both BYU and Utah State, had kind of long stretches where they had trouble putting the ball in the basket. Was it nerves in your opinion, or was it just defense by Texas Tech and UCLA?
I think it was different things for each team. I think it was pretty clear that BYU was like a little out of sync, and I'm guessing that had to do with the fact that they had, gone an extended amount of time without playing. I think they had gone like 11 days without playing in a game. And I think that kind of rust really showed, especially against UCLA. UCLA seemed a lot fresher and a lot more up to, what game speed, was supposed to be. Utah State, I just thought played really poorly. I think Parker's right. I think Texas Tech was just a little bit more talented. I was just thinking about this, it was really just a shame, like you hope you get to the NCAA tournament and you play your best game and, hopefully you advance and, you have the Cinderella moment and all that. But both BYU and Utah State probably played their worst games of the season in the NCAA tournament. So, it was totally fair that they didn't get an advance, but, it's too bad, but still great year overall for both schools.
Jake, were you concerned with the 11-day layoff that BYU would be out of sync?
I was actually, and that was one of the things I worried about going into it. When you sit around for a week and a half, I know you can say that, hey, we've been through this before this season. We've had to have layoffs due to COVID and whatnot. But, man, just sitting around for that long, I think Parker probably can speak to this a little bit more. We were talking before we recorded about how he's had issues with COVID in the week he's playing with overseas there. If you just sit around, you can't recreate playing in a game. It's tough to do, and I really felt like the fact that BYU came in and a half plus of not playing a game, going early on.
Parker, you played the game. The rest of us are ward ball heroes. What's 11-day layoff do to a team?
It's I mean, it's exactly right. It's hard to find a rhythm, and you can't fully simulate the game with practice only. And so I think one thing that benefited UCLA is they got they got to play before they played BYU in the tournament, kind of got the butterflies out, got their legs under them, and BYU comes in with a little, they've been competing against each other for the last 11 days. And so with that layover, you just lose rhythm and you lose kind of the feel for the game, and you can only simulate so much in practice. So in a way, UCLA had an advantage because they were able to play before, and that's always tough, kind of getting that bye in any kind of tournament.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's move to the second quarter and let's talk about Utah's decision to part ways with Larry Krystkowiak. Parker, you played for the man. What were your thoughts when you heard that he'd been let go?
I was, I was initially pretty sad about it. It was kind of an end of an era that I was a part of, and I have all the respect in the world for Coach K and his staff and for what they did there during his time. And I'm forever grateful for the opportunity he gave me to play for the Utes. And so I was definitely a little emotional when I heard the news, but I understand that it's a business, and the program was ready for a new direction. But I just was full of gratitude as I remember back to my experiences as a Ute with Coach K, and I even thought back to the time he offered me a scholarship, and it's one of the highlighting moments of my life. And so I'm forever grateful for him and the opportunity he gave me, and all the things that he taught me as well. So sad, but exciting also for a new direction for the Utes.
Jake, what do you think was the death knell in this situation? Was it the lack of NCAA tournament appearances? Was it just the lack of progress overall? How do you see things from Mark Harlan's seat?
I think the biggest thing for the Utes was just the fact that they were seeing BYU with Mark Pope and also Craig Smith go to the NCAA tournament annually. Craig Smith had a team done it 3 years in a row. I know we didn't have the tournament last year, but they won the Mountain West tournament. They were going. BYU was going last year. They both made it this year. I really think Mark Harlan probably just saw what was going on in the state around Utah. And with the Utes being the flagship school, being the Power 5 school in the state, I don't think he was content with the mediocrity he was seeing from the program and decided, you know what, we need to switch things up and try something new.
Austin, there was a huge buyout on Krystkowiak's contract. Did that surprise you? Because I think a lot of people around the old water cooler were saying, well, Utah'd make a move, but the buyout's too high, so they won't.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? It was like $6.7 million or something. That's a lot to give a guy to not show up to work. I know you and I would be pretty comfortable with that kind of
take the
money to stay
less,
home. Yeah. So I mean, but the thing is, not only are they gonna have to pay Larry to not come back, they're gonna have to pay for a new coach. So this could be like a pretty expensive transition, especially if they want to get someone who's up and coming, who's talented, who has some kind of experience. Utah should be a really prestigious program. It should be. They should command like a good candidate for that position. So it's going to be a really expensive transition, but hopefully it pays off if the program gets better. Mark Harlan has to do a killer job on this hire.
Parker, you've followed the Utes before you played for them and such. You've seen the ups and downs of the program and that. Is it hard? I mean, obviously he got the Utes to the Sweet 16 at one point. Is it hard to maintain that, and especially in this day and age?
For sure, it's extremely hard to sustain that, and especially being in the Pac-12. I think there's positives and negatives of the Utes being in the Pac-12. One of those things, I think it's extremely difficult to get into the tournament. Right now, we're seeing how good the Pac-12 is. They had 5 Pac-12 teams in the tournament. I was there, and we always played really well in the Pac-12. We finished in the top 4 3 of my 4 years there, but yet weren't. A lot of it was because of the national perspective of the Pac-12. They didn't consider it as good as other conferences, and so because of that, teams were left out that probably should have made it. So that's a difficult thing about being in the Pac-12. But you hope that Utah can continue to compete at a high level in the conference and get back into the tournament.
All right. Well, let's move to the second half, the third quarter here on the podcast. Let's talk about possible replacements for Larry Krystkowiak. Parker, anybody come to mind? Boy, I'm going through puberty there.
Obviously the top two names that come to mind as a Utah guy are the two local guys, Johnny Bryant, Alex Jensen. Those are, two guys that both played for the Utes. They have coaching experience with the Jazz as well. And, Johnny Bryant's now with the Knicks. So those would be two exciting hires from the Utah fan base for sure. And it would be good for local recruits as well. I just don't know if there's much interest there on their side to come coach in college, because they're both in great positions to continue their NBA careers. But when the job is available, when the job came available, those were the first two, names that came to mind.
Jake, do you agree?
Yeah. So, similar to what Parker was saying, I think the top two guys to say are Johnny Bryant, obviously, and Alex Jensen. Both of them high-level assistants in the NBA with a background with the University of Utah. They're easy guys to point out, but I think there are going to be a bevy of other names that pop up. Ones that come to mind: Porter Moser, who worked for Rick Majerus at St. Louis, if I recall correctly. Got Loyola Chicago rolling a little bit here. He's probably a candidate. I even think they'll probably kick the tires on guys like Mark Pope and Craig Smith here locally. Why not? They've had success. You obviously could probably pay them more being a Power 5 program. And you want to look even further out, Joe Pasternak, UC Santa Barbara. I think there's just a bevy of names out there that will have interest in this gig.
Do you guys think somebody like Tommy Connor has an opportunity, or do you think that they want to start fresh? Maybe Parker, you could answer that.
I mean, I love Coach Connor as a coach, and he's definitely qualified. And he's definitely capable of being a head coach. I mean, him and Kay work so closely alongside each other. And he was the associate coach for my time there, that he's definitely capable. And I know it was something that he wanted in the past, but I don't know if that'll be considered. I think Mark Harlan kind of he probably, from my understanding, is he may want to bring in his own guy, to kind of put his stamp on the program. But we'll see. I would love Coach Connor. I mean, he's one of the favorite guys I've ever had the chance to play for. So we'll see.
Just wanted to point out, I've also played for Coach Tommy Connor. My dad here sent me to Westminster basketball camp one summer, and I think he really took me under his wing. He saw
the best camp in the state.
It really was. Like he came up to me and he's like, Austin, you could be a real 3 and D threat in the NAIA. And I was like, wow, I just need to grow about a foot, I think. So. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I'd heard from a source that Johnny Bryant had contacted Mark Harlan and showed interest. I don't know on Alex Jensen's end, because we keep hearing he's on the verge of an NBA head coaching job. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's jump to the fourth quarter. We cannot do a podcast without talking about the pro team in town, the Utah Jazz. They're winning. They're not winning as impressively as they were, or as often as they were earlier in the season. Jake, what's up with the Jazz? Are teams figuring them out, or are we just in the dog days of the season right now?
I think there's a little bit of both what you said there, Dirk. I think part of it is this team is now the hunted. Like, they're the top dog in the NBA, and teams are targeting them. They want to, say, well, let's see how good the Jazz actually are. I do think that it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Los Angeles Lakers now. It seemed like they were on the verge of making a run to maybe retake that top seed, and then LeBron James goes down with a high ankle sprain and is out indefinitely here. Who knows when he's going to be back? They still already have Anthony Davis out indefinitely with the Achilles issue that he's dealing with. So I honestly think the top contender to take that spot away from the Jazz, the Lakers, they may be falling back in the race a little bit now without their top two dogs. But I do think that it's just the fact that the Jazz have been the hunted, and you hit lulls during the season. They were shooting it so well during that run there that you figured it was going to cool off eventually. And the nice part is, as you said, they are winning still, just not winning as impressively.
Parker, what do you think? I mean, obviously there are lulls in the season, and they're experiencing one right now, but they're still holding on to that top spot.
Yeah, still 2.5 games up on the Suns, and we're in the middle of kind of a tougher road trip. We've been on the road for a while now. We got one more road game before we come back home. But I think moving forward, I'm confident that the Jazz can keep that spot. We've got 11 of our next 15 games will be at home, and 11 of those games will be against teams that are either at or below 500. So I expect the Jazz to go on a run and keep winning a lot of games and to hold on to that number one spot. But I think we all knew that the Jazz were going to cool off a little bit. I mean, we were so hot in January and the beginning of February that it was just, we couldn't play that well for that much longer. And so I think we'll pick it up as we come back home. And we're coming off a good win against Toronto, so we'll see how the next one goes.
Austin, we talk about this a lot, but I thought Parker threw a name out there that who expected to be there? The Suns. The Suns are in contention. I mean, it's crazy what's going on in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm looking around the standings right now. I've got it pulled up on my iPad here, and there are a lot of things that I just didn't expect to happen this season. I didn't expect the Suns to be that good. It makes sense that they are because they have a pretty nice little roster of young guys. They've got the inside presence with DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker's a terrific shooter. So I guess it makes sense that it would eventually add up to them to being a good team, because they play the modern NBA style. But teams like Boston's pretty mediocre this year. They're about 500. That's surprising. I'm surprised Dallas hasn't really caught on, that they haven't had more success. I think Memphis should have been better than I was expecting. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting the way the post-bubble NBA is shaping up.
Well, let's get an early prediction from both you guys, Jake and Parker. Where are they going to finish? Are they going to hold on to that number one seed? Parker, what do you think?
I think the Jazz will hold on to it just because of they have an easy schedule coming up, and the Lakers dealing with some health issues. And I feel like the Lakers and Clippers, their goal right now, not to necessarily get to a top seed. It's just, we just want to get healthy before the playoffs start. And so the Jazz have a really good chance of holding on to that, I think, because of those factors.
Jake, if you saw the highlights of LeBron, it looked like he was a fish out of water or had his foot in a bear trap the way he was rolling around. Yeah. But how do you see it? Do you think the Jazz are going to hold on to that top spot?
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way Parker does. I think that the Jazz will make a run at it. I know that coming out of the All-Star break, there were a lot of people saying the Jazz had the softest schedule remaining just across the final 36 games in the NBA, and they should make a run at that number one seed. Honestly, the team I think that will make a run with them to try and get it because they want to get there is Phoenix. I think that the LA teams are totally content sitting back, getting healthy ahead of the playoffs, and they'll say, you know what? You guys can have that top dog status. We'll come get you after that. But yeah. I do think it'll be Phoenix and the Jazz who make a run at it. I'm expecting Utah, though, will get the number one seed overall.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the Clippers, but, that like Kawhi Leonard famously is on, load management. I think that makes it pretty clear that he's not interested in where they finish in the regular season.
I keep wanting to take Allen Iverson's practice comment and replace it with the word Phoenix. Like Phoenix? I mean, it's just hard to believe Phoenix is in the discussion right now, but good for them.
Yeah, the X factor. Chris Paul. Yeah, I was going to say Chris Paul's the X factor for them. He goes to teams and they win. That's it's been proven year after year. If he goes somewhere, they're going to win. The bigger question is, will they have success in the playoffs, which is something he's never experienced.
Yeah, they did really well in the bubble. People forget about that. They went 8-0 in those qualifying games. Chris Paul, and they add Chris Paul to that equation. Monty Williams is a great coach. It makes sense. It makes sense that things are finally clicking for them.
Now, unless I'm wrong, didn't the Jazz take Darren Williams instead of Chris Paul in a draft a few years back? Makes you wonder.
That was a costly move.
Yeah.
Shall we rehash that old debate? Who's better, CP3 or D. Will?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's a debate at this point.
I think somebody's proven himself. Hey, thanks for joining us for the four quarters. Let's do our parting shots. Let's throw a curveball and have Austin go first.
Oh man, I wasn't prepared. We didn't really. We talked a little bit about the Jazz. The loss I was really disappointed with was the Washington loss. Just because they've been so bad all year. That was pretty inexcusable to allow that many points to such a bad team. But I felt better about it after what was said post game by the Jazz's team leaders. Rudy Gobert said something that I thought was absolutely perfect. He's like, if we want to be the team that doesn't get laughed about in the national media, like we have to act like we haven't won anything yet. Like we can't be complacent. And so it seems like I really see Rudy Gobert as like the real engine that drives that team. And so I thought it was great to hear him be vocal and call out his teammates. I thought that made me feel good after a pretty bad loss. So,
all right, Jake, what's your parting shot this week?
I just wanted to give a shout out to BYU and Utah State for them to make it back to the tournament after all the guys they lost off of last year's teams who looked like they had a chance to make a run. That was a pretty impressive showing by both Craig Smith and Mark Pope to kind of remake these rosters and make another run at the NCAA tournament. I know that them bowing out in the first round is going to have their fans disappointed, both for the Aggies and the Cougars, but regardless, I think it shows that both of these coaches know what they're doing, and if both programs are able to hold on to these guys, I think you can expect continued success for both of them for the future.
Also, Parker, we're the gentlemen as the East High graduates going last. So how about bringing us home?
Yeah, I just want to take this time to publicly thank, Coach K for his service as coach for the Utah basketball program. And I just want to ask Utah fans to remember two things is one, remember how quickly Coach K brought success back to the program after Jim Boylan left. He inherited the program with, the program, everyone pretty much had transferred and they won 6 games in his first year, but by his third year, they won 21 games. In his fourth year, they were in the Sweet 16. And so he did an incredible job of building the program back up. And then the second thing is just, Coach K ran the program the right way. In a world of college basketball where there's a lot of questionable stuff going on, I could go name a list of schools that, there's allegations against them all the time. Coach K ran the program the right way, with integrity and honesty and respect. And that's something that we as Utah fans should be grateful for. And we should look back at the time there, had some with positivity, and that he had some great success, and be excited for the future, but remember the goodness of the past.
Well put. That's my parting shot as well as Coach K, as a reporter that, I was able to cover him from the day he was hired throughout his tenure at Utah, and a class act. He'd always call me back. He was always accessible. I mean, there were some games where he was very angry after, I remember one up in Washington that slipped away at the end, and he would always come out and talk to the media, and I think that's from his NBA experience and that he knew that we were there, but he was always accessible and a good guy. And, he was a generous guy too, and with his time and with his money. And so I think Utah fans need to remember, like Parker said, that he did bring the program back after the Jim Boylan experiment obviously didn't work. And it was refreshing to have him up there, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here on out. But well put, Parker. I agree with you.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I remember hearing from so many people, and I'm sure maybe Jake had this problem, that, Larry would kind of screw up his sound bites during his weekly press conference because he would interject by saying, it's just like I was telling Dirk, 6 years ago, did you ever have that issue where you had to cut out, those I was telling Dirk interjections,
Yeah,
I
every
love
once
the
in a while,
attention.
we'd actually, we just leave them in there sometimes and just have fun with them because he was really good at that. Hey, well, I told you guys this a while back. It was just funny, but yeah, we had some fun with it. But we're gonna miss Larry. I think plain and simple. He's an old school coach in many ways, but old school in many good ways. Like you said, the accessibility, the ability to ask him anything, nothing was out of bounds for him, and that was appreciated.
Yeah, it really was. Well, appreciate it, guys. We got a few housekeeping things. First of all, I want to thank my daughter, Sammy. She's the engineer behind the scenes here, pushing the buttons, and appreciate what she does. And also, any advertisers out there, this is a good place.
Yeah, we'll do a pre-roll ad for you. Why not?
This is the place. So don't be afraid to call us. But Austin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, we have our weekly newsletter drawing. I've got all the names in the hopper here. I'll let you do the honors. Just tap that white circle.
I did it well this time.
Yeah.
I usually struggle.
Let's see who the winner is. Hope it's not a blood relative. It's Gibson Johnson who won the other week. So we'll just toss him out. Sorry, Gibson, you can only win once. Former Hawaii basketball great.
Yeah, if you can play for Hawaii, you can win the contest.
Okay, let's see. Not a blood relative. Again, Doug Toole. He won. He also won. So we got to take him out. Okay.
Get a new spinner.
Third time's a charm. Sam's yelling that we should get a new spinner.
Should take people's names off if they won.
Okay, here we go. We were one away from having to give our mom a prize, but Bradley Cawley, you're our winner. So I'll email you to show you what we got. We still got some stuff here. I went to the store and I got some new stuff as well. Our lighting situations are working.
Oh well, we got.
It's like Blair Witch Project. That would be kind of exciting if we could get this on like some sort of access. I think that would make the podcast a lot more exciting.
Swivel.
Yeah, a swivel. Yeah.
But again, guys, thank you for joining us, and go to thisistheplaysports.com. We're growing, and we appreciate the support. And
please help our guy Jake out. Jake and Brian host Locked on Cougars and Locked on Utes. They do a great job, and we really appreciate them always being willing to help us out. So check them out as well.
And Parker's been a regular dating back to the newspaper days with me. And I hate bothering you when you're trying to play pro basketball, but we're living vicariously through you. You're our Estonia guy. And so, we need you in the NBA though, so we can get some free.
The Estonia flag's in the mail that we're going to hang in our front yard.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy being on with you guys. Appreciate it.
You're great. Everybody be safe. Have a good week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, guys. We owe you. Someday our ship will come in and we'll have money and we can pay you. So
happy to do it, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one. Stay safe.
See you guys.